You'd think a game with a water type champion would be pretty easy to beat with only grass types, right? But we've got a flurry of fire and flying type bosses in our way. That is why I'm trying to see if I can beat a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Emerald with only grass type Pokemon. The grass types in this game have a flurry of different subtypes, providing a lot of coverage, including dark, water, and even fighting. We don't get many grass type Pokemon with only 9 possible team members, Sunken only being available off the Elite Four, and no Roselia since it's not in Emerald version for some reason. I also only get the choice of either Vileplume or Bellossom since due to Dupes clause I can only get one Oddish. Speaking of Dupes clause, that's one of the many rules which are displayed on screen and in the description. While you're down reading the description, be sure to leave a like and a comment, and if you're not subscribed then press that big red button because it is gonna turn a funny grey colour when you do. Without further ado, let's get into the challenge. Obviously our starter Pokemon is Trico in a grass type run. That reminds me of my solo runs that I've done with the Hoenn starters, which you should totally check out after this. After beating the first rival battle, we can go to Route 102 and get our first capture, Lotad. We could have got a Seedot here, but Seedot is a 1% encounter on this route, which is good because we can find it a lot easier later, but Lotad would have been even later than that. I'd also love to train it in special attack, but the best place to train that stat is after the 3rd gym, so we've just got to make do with what we can for now. My next encounter was Shroomish in the Petalburg Woods. I like Shroomish, I don't really have much more to say, I just really like it. If you flip its face upside down, it goes from looking pissed off to mischievous. That's kind of interesting. Obviously I picked up the TM for Bullet Seed and went right into the gym battle because honestly, it's going to be pretty easy even with the hardcore rules and level caps. Despite having a 4 times advantage over our Geodudes, they would survive our Absorbs however. The first Geodude missed a Rock Tomb and ended up being healed after our first Absorb, then being defeated, and it was the exact same deal with the second Geodude. Onwards to a Nosepass and it's got a lot higher special defense. Another plug to my solo run since I just did one with Nosepass. I used Leech Seed on it to get in some more damage as it hits us fairly hard. Absorb isn't really doing too much, so I had to use Stun Spore in order to give us a bit of an easier battle. And with that small challenge dealt with, I've got the first badge well under the level cap, but don't expect that to be the norm. I probably shouldn't have done the rival battle before leaving Rustboro because we weren't prepared for it at all, but somehow we got out of it unscathed. And then we had Lotad evolve into Lombre, everyone's favourite Kappa. I could have got the Miracle Seed at this stage, which boosts the power of grass type moves by 20%, but I decided against it because I didn't want to teach anything the Cut HM since we can't delete it from our movesets. After making our delivery to Steven, we can skip the gym for now and get a new encounter, and that Pokemon is the return of Snooper the Oddish on Route 110. I got this really nice plush from the Pokemon World Tournament, which I have a video featuring a pretty big Pokemon YouTuber in the works very soon. I'm just going to keep plugging things in this entire video, aren't I? I'm so sorry. I also went back for the EXP share and trained Oddish and went to fight Brawley. Despite grass types taking fighting type moves fairly well, we still had to get to the level cap, with Trico evolving into Grovyle in the process. We don't really have many good moves since Absorb is like 20 base power, but we're still going to give it a good effort. Our moves aren't really doing too much to his first Pokemon in Machop, but we both got hit by critical hits, no prizes for guessing which one was stronger. I had to swap into Shroomish and set up a Leech Seed for some chip damage, and despite Machop setting up a few bulk ups, Shroomish can take its attacks fairly well, and with a few Mega Drains we can take it down and heal ourselves up in the process. Meditite comes in, as we all know, it loves to use Focus Punch. We slowly take it down after it gets healed, healing ourselves fully in the process again with Mega Drain. Next is Makuhita and it is a bulky so-and-so, meaning a Leech Seed is needed. I refuse to do another plug for my Makuhita run, I just inadvertently did. It starts to set up bulk ups as we start to take it out with a Mega Drain. It hits us with a reversal, taking Shroomish down to 15 HP, while healing itself with a berry. I swapped into Oddish since its poison subtyping resists fighting types, trying to put Makuhita to sleep. We did do it, and got it within a sliver of defeat before it woke up and slammed Oddish with a reversal, taking out Oddish for the first death of the run. Luckily the following Leech Seed damage does take out Makuhita before any potential healing, so yeah, we won the second badge, but I'm very surprised that reversal took out Oddish so easily. That means the return for the sad face box, something I never want to make in a Nuzlocke, but them's the rules. The level cap for this section is 24, and luckily that means we can evolve Shroomish, and without that Breloom, I think the next gym is going to be near impossible. But even before that gym is a pretty near impossible battle in itself, as we have to survive the rival battle, which I didn't in a previous attempt of this run. I had to get near enough to the level cap because her Combuskin obviously has Ember and also Peck, and her Wingull also has Wing Attack. Any of those moves are devastating to us. I only just about got past the battle, and luckily we didn't have another death. But the next few sections will put us to the test, trust me. In Marville, I picked up the Mack bike as I'll need it for later, and then went to Route 117, which houses our next encounter in C-Dot. C-Dot is only a 1% find, and I don't have the best history with Shiftry. Oh, hello Shiftry. You're a disgusting Pokemon and I hate you. I'd love to see Shiftry make a comeback too. It's so underused with a great design. I literally just, as you sent that, I have roasted Shiftry. Oh no. And Shiftry's roasted me. But my dislike for the final form aside, I evolved it into Nuzleaf, taught it Bullet Seed, and went into the gym battle against Wattson. I gave all the team Cherry Berries to help try and prevent the paralysis act, and his first team members in Voltorb and Electrike are not too much issue, aside from the fact that the latter uses up our Cherry Berry on Breloom. Then leading into the reason we need Breloom, the Magneton. Being part Steel type means that it resists Grass type moves, so our best bet is to use Muck Punch in combo with Stun Spore and Leech Seed. But I didn't account for a critical hit, which meant we could fight the Manectric a lot earlier than expected. I landed a Stun Spore on it as it set up with Howl. We just couldn't land an attack through our own paralysis, so I sent in Grovyle to use a combo of Screech and Quick Attack, but we got paralysed during that, so I swapped out again. With its multiple Howl boosts, Quick Attack is doing a number on our team and it's looking dicey. But his use of a Super Potion didn't save him against Lombre, who managed to get the finishing blow and wins us badge number 3. But this is where the fear sets in, as I remember that the next two bosses are Team Magma Maxi and Fire Gym Leader Flannery. I have to prepare smartly as I have lost at this section numerous times, because of course I have. It's the most painful section for Grass type guys to get through. I got the HM for Strength and the Black Glasses from the same tunnel to give Grovyle's Pursuit a small boost. Then on the way to Meteor Falls I got the Dig TM, and that's one of the only super effective moves we have against fire types. Yep. Despite being water type, Lombre doesn't learn a damaging water move until level 49. While I travel to Meteor Falls, let me plug the donation link, where you can use the Buy Me a Coffee link in the description to donate towards the channel for things like audio equipment or a new computer. It's better than Patreon because you can just leave a donation and you don't have to commit to a monthly paying amount. I've lowered the monthly cost to about £2 a month, and it gets your name at the end of every video and with a Pokemon at the end, which you'll see at the end of this one. Quick plug out of the way, how will I do in the hardest section of this run? Maxi is pretty scary and I can't lead with Breloom due to the Intimidate drop, plus he has a Zubat and a Camerupt, both pretty high level in regards to the level cap. We got past him however and then started training the team in special attack EVs off Wild Sminders, and trained Breloom in special defense in Fiery Path because we need all the help we can get. In theory I have to survive 5 uses of Overheat from her first Pokemon, whilst also avoiding Breloom getting burnt, which lowers its attack, and if all those parameters go right, we might be okay. I gave the team Oran Berries and taught Grovyle Dig just in case, and set my sights on victory and nothing else. Her first Pokemon is probably the easiest to set up on, if we can tank the 5 uses of Overheat that it has, and stall its Sunlight turns out, then we can set up Bulk Ups with Breloom, who is luckily pretty fast in comparison to her team. I led with Nuzleaf and it was honestly just using it as death fodder to bait out an Overheat so that we can lower the normal special attack. It sucks I had to sack off a team member, but if we can survive this, then we can get a new Grass Dark type. Nuzleaf's efforts will not be in vain. I sent in Breloom to use Leech Seed and sent in Lombre. I should have set up on the Numel, but I used Sunny Day and I felt safer using Lombre due to its water typing to resist fire moves. We gradually took out the Numel as Flannery sends in Slugma. Slugma only really has Overheat and Smog, Smog being a terrible move with low accuracy, so I'm not worried there. Lombre takes a sun boosted overheat as I swap into Grovyle to take one more, which it does really well. Now at -6 after I send in Lombre again to take one more overheat because I was scared of the sun boost, Slugma is now really easy to set up against. Breloom comes in and we start the setup. Slugma misses both an overheat and smog as we use bulk up 6 times, and after a death and a lot of brain power, the sweep finally begins. We took out Slugma, Camerupt and Torkoal with a critical hit, and after many failed attempts at this stage, we finally beat the Fire Gym leader with a grass type team. Sadly, we stupidly lost Nuzlocke on the way because I wasn't even setting up on Numel, but never fear, your strange nipples fell for a good cause. Seriously though, why does Nuzlocke have nipples? I don't get it. Now we get access to the desert, which gives us 2 new Pokemon. The first is Cacnea, which is fairly decent and becomes a better grass dark type than Shiftry. And then we go into the Mirage Tower to get the Root Fossil. I know if I didn't say what fossil I picked, you'd all ask. In fact, everyone ask anyway, comments are good for the YouTube algorithm. I was actually picking up the fossil, I do really need it, so that joke wasn't forced. I revived that fossil to get Lileep, which is an absolute stall monster. It's all defense, all the time, and Cradily is a beast, and I always forget what it's weak to when I'm battling it. So this is going to be fun to stall spam the AI for once. Okay, gym battle time versus the Father, and I was fairly worried about this since his lead spinner has Teeter Dance, which can mess up our bulk up boosts. It was a bit annoying, but after 2 boosts and taking a Psybeam, we can take out the Spinda, Linoon, and Vigoroth, all in 1 hit each. Norman then sends in his Ace Slacking, and it survives an initial Mach Punch, and lands a pretty weak Facade. So on its loafing turn, we can just give it another swift hit to win the badge, but we get something a lot more important afterwards, which is the HM for Surf, finally giving Lombre a water type move, and what a good move it is. The increase to our level cap is pretty minimal, so I don't battle as many trainers as I could have, rather taking the detour to get the TM for Ice Beam, giving it to Lombre, and evolving Cacnea into Cacturn at level 32. We can also get a new encounter for this section and a pretty unique type combo in Grass Flying. It's Tropius. It can learn Fly, which is good for fast track travel, and it's a Pokemon that I really want to try out. I sure hope that it stays throughout the whole run, because it's a pretty interesting Pokemon that I really want to use. That would be our last encounter, but I am allowing myself to catch a Gloom seeing as we lost Oddish before it evolved. I've had comments saying that this is kinda cheating because I should include the whole evolution line as dead, but it's my challenge run, and if you don't like it, be sure to tell me in the comments. I can't guarantee that I care, but it sure helps that goddamn algorithm. I promptly evolved Gloom into Vileplume with the Leaf Stone, and that is honestly my last encounter until the post-game, where we get the weakest Pokemon in the world. But we actually have to make it there first, picking up the TM for Giga Drain on the way, beating Team Aqua at Mount Pyre, and then checking out the team's hidden power types. I felt I needed an electric or fire variant to take out Winona's Skarmory effectively, but we didn't get that, instead getting Ice on Lombre and Grovyle, Ghost on Vileplume, Dragon on Cacturn, and Poison on Breloom. Oh, and Flying on Tropius, even though it's already a flying type. The most helpful out of the lot is Vileplume because it's literally got no move pool, so I taught it there. The problem with Winona is all of her team has Aerial Ace, which bypasses any evasion drops, so setting up is near impossible. Even on the Swablu, since it has Perish Song, which will make you faint in 3 turns unless you switch out. I've had 2 previous runs ending here, but here was my 3rd attempt with the current squad. I lead with Tropius versus the Swablu and just try to blast it away using Strength, which did the trick after Swablu was healed. I used Growth versus the Pelipper anticipating the Protect, and now Magical Leaf does about half to the mailman, or male woman since it's female, or male person if that's how it identifies. We outspeed her own Tropius and could have took it out if it didn't heal with Synthesis, but for some reason I kept Tropius in and used Fly, and my own carelessness allows her own Tropius to beat ours for our 3rd death of the run. Maybe I was looking at keeping Lombre healthy, but we could have done that without the sacrifice. Tropius is taken out, and then we have the main problem when starting the battle, the Skarmory. I swapped into Vileplume to land the Sleep Powder to give us a bit more time to set up, using Leech Seed with Cacturn for residual damage, getting in as much damage as we can before our health is too low. Switching out is the play here, and it does actually work, strangely enough, as we manage to take out the Skarmory with Leech Seed. Her final Pokemon is Altaria, who is 4 times weak to Ice, so we need Lombre in this situation. But we almost lose our only Dragon counter as Lombre is taken down to 2 HP. Altaria also survives in the red, making me swap into Grovyle since I'm not confident of outspeeding with our little Lombre. Altaria goes for Earthquake for some reason, a move that it doesn't even learn, and Grovyle can outspeed next turn and hit a critical hit Rock Tomb. Somehow we got through that gym with only the 1 casualty for something I kinda wanna use, but I guess I have to do it in the Ruby Sapphire Solo Run series. Regardless, we've got our key team members still in use, bringing Lily back into the team, and let's go see what the next gyms have in store for us. We finally get a good bump on the level cap, meaning we can finally make some new evolutions, seeing as this 6 is going to be our final team, so we have to make them count. As we will be evolving Grovyle into Sceptile, and Lileep into Cradily. Sadly we can't evolve Lombre just yet, as we need Dive to get a Water Stone, which we'll need to beat the following gym for. Firstly, I trained in the Magma Hideout, which might seem a bit crazy with a bunch of grass types, but there's just a bunch of Gravelers in here. I did the Maxi battle a bit underleveled, but we managed to pull through. Our bad confusion luck against his Mightyena was leveled out with Lileep's massive defense, as it helps to defeat the main threat in Crobat. Moving on to the gym, and normally I'm really worried because Psychic types are pretty dang strong, but with Lombre's Surf and a flurry of grass type moves, that should help us pass the Claydol, Solrock, and Lunatone. The Solrock may have Flamethrower, so if it sets up Sunny Day that could be bad, but we've just got to take it out as soon as possible. They lead with Claydol and Xatu, and luckily we have Ice Beam for the bird and anything grass type for the Claydol and the rest of the team. We knock out the Xatu right away, and that pesky Solrock comes in. I'm not that worried for the Claydol since it just wants to use Earthquake, so I swap out into Cacturn expecting the Flamethrower, and tank it hard with Cradily, even with the Sun Boost. That shows Cradily is a thick boy and its pure defensive girth taking both an Earthquake and a Psychic at the same time, confusing the Solrock and Lombre landing a Surf for minimal damage in the heat of the sun. Now predicting the Psychic on Cradily, I swap into Cacturn and Lombre into Sceptile, which means very little apart from keeping our team members alive as Solrock hits itself. The combined powers of Cacturn and Sceptile take down Solrock and take Lunatone into really low health. I'm not really that worried about Lunatone since its only attacking move is Psychic, which doesn't even affect Cacturn, so we just keep landing grass attacks to get the win in the penultimate gym battle. The Lunatone had to be annoying and get healed before that happened of course, but our team members all managed to pull through, and now we get the pleasure of facing the Water type gym with our team of grass types. But we have a bit of business to take care of first. After doing that double battle with Steven, we can get the HM for Dive and finally get that fabled Water Stone, evolving Lombre into Ludicolo, a fully evolved team at last. Now I'm just going to gloss over one of the best cutscenes in Pokemon history to just get to the last gym and potentially finish this run by the end of the century. I trained the team up to the level cap just to get some extra EVs into them and to just waste some time for myself. I didn't need to get to the level cap as we have the type advantage over 1, but we have no more encounters after this, so if we lose one Pokemon, that could be a potential end of the run. And I don't want to be waiting another 60 years of training just to lose to Flannery again. Luckily for my sanity, it was a pretty simple battle. I tried to set up with Breloom, but a mixture of Attract and Confusion from the Love Disc was really getting on my nerves. Eventually we got past it and the rest of the team was a sweep. The only thing that gave me a scare was Kingdra, who took Breloom down to under 20 HP, meaning I had to swap it out. But we had Sceptile on cleanup duty for a pretty easy gym badge, all things considered. But can we beat the final test of the challenge, the Elite Four? Going through Victory Road, and the only interesting part of the Wally fight was that I didn't know that Future Sight could hit Dark-type Pokemon. You learn something new every day. Overall, the Elite Four is a pretty daunting task, but I do know that we have counters for every member. My main fear was losing Ludicolo early, since it's our only offensive counter for Drake's team. If we lose Ludicolo, the run is essentially over. I did some moveset changes, including giving Breloom Brick Break and deleting some HM moves. I did that by utilising the dead Tropius in my party, and I honestly don't even care at this point because I'm just using it to get to and from a location. Again, If you're mad at me in my in-game decisions, then please direct them to me in the comments so I can smugly tell you that if you hate the way I do this, you can do it yourself. Damn, I'm a real asshole when I decide to be. Starting with Sydney, and I didn't lead with Breloom because I want to avoid the Intimidate drop. Once that was taken care of, I didn't even bother setting up with bulk ups because due to our level cap advantage, we one-shot all of his team. Dark types have extremely poor defense anyway, so yeah, not much to say here. Let's move on. Next up is Phoebe, who I think we will be able to deal with kinda easily due to Cacturn's feint attack and Ludicolo's special attacking prowess. She leads with Dusclops, who as many as you know, loves to use Curse, but not during this run where it just wants to use Protect. That doesn't help as it will eventually go down, and the following Bayonet tried to use Grudge to waste all her PP on a finishing move, but then it got healed. I don't think you understand how that tactic really works. Sableye was a bit annoying, but it does go down in the end, as does the rest of her team with not too much issue at all. I was a bit more afraid of that than I should have been. Speaking of something I was a bit more afraid of than I should have been, Glacier is going to be a joke here, as even though her ice types do have the advantage over my entire team, I just set up some bulk ups with Breloom and started a sweep. Walrein had me a bit worried since it's fairly bulky, but we did manage to one-shot everything. Will any of these final battles actually give me a challenge? Now that I've said that, Drake is going to be extremely difficult, isn't he? I started by using Spikes and Leech Seed, even though Spikes won't hurt a majority of his team, and swapped into Ludicolo. We got a bit of HP back with Leech Seed, and then we just started blasting with Ice Beam.
Anyway, I started blasting. Bang! Bang!
The Kingdra we can't be blasting against as it resists Ice type moves, but it is still hurt by Spikes and is really annoying with double team, but we still managed to get past it pretty easily, and the rest of his team is exactly the same, with Flygon going down to a single Ice Beam, but then Salamence takes Ludicolo down in the health a fair bit with Dragon Claw, but even then a single Ice Beam does the job. That battle required a little bit of thinking, but overall that entire Elite Four was just me pressing the A button. Now for the final hurdle of the Elite Four, Pokemon Champion Wallace. We lead with Cacturne and set up the Spikes and Leech Seed versus the Wailord, as it luckily misses Blizzard not once, but twice, allowing us to swap into Ludicolo and use Surf because I wanted to save usage of Giga Drain for later. Then Wailord taking itself out with a mix of Double Edge Recall and the Leech Seeds. All that size and you got no smarts, big man. Tentacruel comes in and it has Sludge Bomb, so Ludicolo has to get the heck out of there, swapping into the only thing that resists poison in Vileplume. We get Tentacruel to sleep as it hits an Ice Beam, and since it has the ability Clear Body, we can use Leech Seed and not take damage from it, because its other ability Liquid Ooze actually damages you with moves like Giga Drain. Fun fact! Skeptile gets hit by Toxic, but I try a dig anyway, taking it into range of a Leech Seed, but Skeptile is dangerously low due to poison and a Sludge Bomb. But it doesn't matter as Tentacruel is taken out, and now it's time for Milotic. This is Wallace's main powerhouse, so I have to plan well, swapping into Ludicolo because that's the smartest thing I could think of, and just start blasting with Giga Drain. Thinking I'm a genius because I have a big dancing stereotype, Wallace sends in his own big dancing stereotype. Obviously I need something smart to take it down, since we have no super effective moves against it, thus calling on to Cradily, landing a Toxic for its double teams which will slowly increase in damage, hopefully taking it out. We also land a Confuse Ray too, and bulk it up with a few Amnesias. After Ludicolo is healed with a full restore, I try for the Toxic again, and somehow we land it again. Surf is doing basically nothing to us with the Amnesia boosts, so I just try an Ancient Power and a critical hit lands, taking out his Ludicolo. I wasn't expecting that, but with Cradily well boosted, I keep it in versus the Whiscash, but that doesn't last long since Earthquake takes us into the red, leaving Cacturne to clean up with a Needle Arm. Wallace is on to his last Pokemon in Gyarados, and I really need a clean switch in since Gyarados is a physical monster, and it shows that, destroying poor Vileplume with a Hyper Beam. It's so annoying to lose a Pokemon so late into the run, especially one like Vileplume where it's so good at setting up with Sleep Powders and utility moves. But even in death, it not only gives us a free turn to switch in, but to attack with Hyper Beam's recharge turn. Breloom lands a Leech Seed and sets up a Bulk Up, and with Gyarados using a really weak Surf and getting a Dragon Dance boost, we land a boosted Strength to take it out. leaving us as the Pokemon League champion, officially beating Pokemon Emerald Hardcore Nuzlocke with only grass types. It sucks that we had to lose a Pokemon at the end, but in hindsight I probably could have swapped into something on more health, but Vileplume did us proud and we managed to win in the end. But despite our jubilation, this is Pokemon Emerald and we have one last battle to take care of. Before that battle, however, I make my way to the new expansion of the Safari Zone and catch a Sunkern. It's a really weak Pokemon, like, really weak. But we can give it a Sunstone to evolve it and then teach it the TM for Solar Beam to complement its move Sunny Day, training it in special attack and defense mainly, and getting all of the team to the level cap, teaching Ludicolo Waterfall to even get to the fight in the first place, and getting the leftovers from the ship. And now we are all set for the post-game fight against Steven. The team I've got is looking pretty strong, but his lead Skarmory does scare me. But honestly, I was not prepared for what was going to happen, as someone called Pimp Knight, because this is an epic Ludicolo sweep, but without the Baton Pass stat boosts and the like. I was so surprised about how easy this battle was going, with Ludicolo just destroying everything. The original thumbnail for this video had Breloom as the poster boy, but after this display I had to change it. Even after spending all of that time training this dang Sunflora, it was a waste of time. But you know what, I'm okay with that, as we have beaten the not so secret final boss of Pokemon Emerald, bringing this run to a close. So let's review the challenge, and that mid-section of the game was pretty brutal. I had to restart the run multiple times, and honestly for my next Nuzlocke, I'm going to save after beating a gym leader and just reset from there, because this took way too long to beat. For some context, you think it's been a while since my Dratini video? Well, I started this challenge before I even started that run. Yeah, I need to work on my productivity a bit. But enough rambling about my hyper-focus on other things. It was a pretty enjoyable run with the usage of status moves and even things like spikes, which I never normally use. Grass types in this game are pretty decent and some of my faves, but then again, I am a Gen 3 baby. What types would you like me to try next in a hardcore Nuzlocke setting? Are there any specific games you'd like me to try? Be sure to leave all of them in the comment section below, and remember to check out my other videos where I've got a pretty good series of Ruby and Sapphire solo runs, where I just take lots of Pokemon from the game and just solo run the game with it and see how well they do, grading them at the end. I've also got a couple of pretty difficult challenges coming in the future, and I've got a lot more viewer suggestions to keep up with, so I'm definitely making my way through those, so leave a comment and it will be done. Eventually, I promise. Try not to take like 40 more years to make another video. It has just been very busy for me recently. Yeah, life ramblings at the end of the video where everyone's clicked off apart from the people who care. Might start making this a thing, I don't know. But again, if you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like and a comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. My name is SuperE123, and I will see you all next time.